Good afternoon, everyone. I, Tanya Gupta, welcome you all in the live virtual revisionary classes of CA Inter Paper 5 Auditing and Ethics. As of now, I hope that you all have revised your syllabus and you all have done detailed study of your syllabus. As you all are aware that your syllabus is divided into 11 chapters, and these classes are purely revisionary classes for January 2024 attempt. As I also got a query from one of the students, that is it a detailed classes or revisionary classes? So for May 2025 attempt, we are already having detailed live virtual classes. You can check schedule there. But these classes are for January 2025 attempt, and these are purely revisionary classes. So please, student, take maximum benefit out of these classes. You can ask your queries in these classes as well, and it will be helpful for you if you revise your chapters in advance so that you can again revise your chapters in these classes. And for now, I'm requesting CA Nancy ma'am to please take up the session, and she will guide you with the weightage and skill wise section of the syllabus. Thank you.
Uh, Thank you, Tanya ma'am. So a very good afternoon to all my dear students. So these are the revisionary classes, as Tanya ma'am has already told you, meant for the students who are appearing in January 2025 for their exams, right? So how we'll proceed is we have been allotted total 25 lectures, right, for these sessions. So I'll be taking chapter wise revision, whereby I'll be explaining you the important concepts and I'll try to cover up the entire chapter. Wherever there'll be certain paragraphs or any concept that is to be read at home, I'll be giving to you as homework, right? And I'll be expecting that you will be doing that homework and then coming for the next session. Then we'll be going through the questions, the case studies, the MCQs that are given in your study, as well as some extra questions for practice will be there, right? Whatever are your doubts, you can always send in the chat box. So try to send in your queries to me, whereby my name is written in small letters, right? So send in the query to that. And as and when we'll proceed, I'll unmute also wherever I'll find it is required, right? So be with me and let us start with chapter number 1. And before that, as Tanya ma'am has asked me, I'll just share with you the weightage. So students, this auditing and ethics subject, this is really very, very easy. But yes, you have to understand and then you need to learn, right? You are going to fetch marks for what you are going to write in your papers. So learning, but after understanding the concept is what is recommended, right? Further, I'll be sharing with you the weightage. So this is chapter number 1 with weightage of 4 to 6%. This weightage, section-wise weightage is available on the BOS knowledge portal. Then chapter number 2 is 8 to 12%. Then chapter number 3, again 8 to 12%. Chapter number 4 along with chapter number 6, which is audit documentation, it is having weightage of 12 to 18%. Right? See, chapter number 6 is also included here. Chapter number 5, very, very, very important, 12 to 20%. This individual chapter has a weightage of 12 to 20%. Then chapter number 7, 6 is already covered with 4. It is 8 to 12%. Chapter number 8 is your 8 to 12%. Then chapter number 9 and 10, special features of audit of different types of entity and audit of banks, is 12 to 18%. Ethics in terms of audit engagement, chapter number 11, which is 8 to 10%. So in total, we have 11 chapters and I've shared with you the weightage. See, each and every chapter is important. Chapter number 1, though it is having a weightage of 4 to 6%, but it is the foundation of the entire course of auditing and ethics subject for your paper number 5. So you need to understand the concepts, you need to learn the keywords, you need to learn the definitions, and wherever learning will be required, but yes, after understanding the concept, right? And I'll be sharing with you the questions of the last year papers also, and we'll be practicing them, right? So let me just share with you. Just a minute. I hope now you are able to see the screen. Chapter number 1, right? So we'll be discussing chapter number 1 today, which is nature, objective, and scope of audit. Dear students, keep on sending your queries because I really want this session to be really very interactive, because this is what a revision class. So basically the purpose is understanding part. I am assuming that it is clear, though I'll be repeating the concepts for you. But how to learn and how to write in the exam so that you pass with flying colors. So whatever doubts come to your mind, please do ask me, right? So the topic is nature, objective, and scope of audit. So what is meant by auditing and what is the nature of auditing, right? So audit is this definition is given on page number 1.5 of your module. I hope you all are with me. Please send in your thumbs up if everything is clear so far. And also, I would like to tell you that your paper, it consists of 30 marks MCQ and 70 marks descriptive type questions, right? And 30 marks MCQ will come in the form of 15 MCQs for 2 marks each, right? 3 MCQs can be individual, like not based on any case scenarios, but though practical situations will be given. So independent 3 MCQs will be there for 6 marks. And the remaining will be in the form of either 3 case scenarios or 2 case scenarios consisting of 4, 5, or 3 questions accordingly, right? So I hope I'm clear that 30 marks are for MCQ, 2 marks each, right? So see how scoring is this paper. But yes, you need to go through the entire module line by, because you may get MCQ from any line which is given from a practical situation which is based on any line which is given in your module, right? But once you have understood, I'm sure that you will be able to apply that concept practically also, right? So with a very positive note, I can see that Nikita, Yash, Manish, Sunny, Sia, all are with me. Ritu, Dave, all are saying yes, ma'am, it's clear. So let us start with this first topic, which is meaning of auditing. So see, students, what is auditing? It is the independent examination of financial information of any entity, whether profit oriented or not, irrespective of its size and legal form, when such an examination is conducted with a view to expressing an opinion thereon, right? So here my purpose is not only to make you understand, but also to make you understand as to how to learn and write in the exam. So this definition of auditing is really very, very important. You will see that chances are there that in an entire paper, somewhere or the other, in any question, you will be required to write this definition. So what is my strategy, that whenever any definition is given or whenever any concept is there, which is lengthy, you just break that into parts, because it will help you in easily understanding the topic as well as in writing, in learning and then writing in the exam. So I've broken this into 4 parts. So audit is an independent examination of what? Of financial information. Whose financial information? Of any entity. What can be that entity? Whether profit oriented or not, and irrespective of its size or legal form. Okay, then what is the purpose of doing all this? When such an examination is what? This independent examination is conducted with a view to expressing an opinion thereon. What is meant by thereon? On this financial information, right? So I've told you that why I'm breaking this definition into parts, because understanding, yes, it is important. But my dear students, you are going to fetch marks for what you are going to write in the paper. So if you have an idea in your mind that, okay, the audit definition was divided into four like parts, right? So it is an what? Independent examination of what? Financial information. Whose financial information? of any entity. What is that entity, whether profit oriented or not, and irrespective of its size and legal form? Why? When such an examination is conducted with a view to expressing an opinion thereon. See, why I have told you that therein implies this financial information? Because this understanding will help you in learning the definition after understanding. Right? So I can see Kiran is saying that, ma'am, my concepts are clear, but I don't know what to write when questions are little twisted. Yeah, that we will also discuss. But that's why I told you that you need to go through the module in entirety. You will get the twisted questions, as Kiran is saying, out of the matter which is written in the module itself. So if you are clear with each and every line which is given in the module, solving such practical questions is going to be a cakewalk for you. But yes, for that, you need to go through the module. Hana? If you say that I'll not go through the entire module, I'll just learn the keywords. Okay, learning of keywords is required. But once, twice go through the module, and then I'm sure you will be able to solve those twisted questions. And yes, we will also discuss and see as to how to write. See, again, Aishi is saying, ma'am, my biggest concern is how to write. So in order to, solve this concern, only these revisionary sessions are there, which are understanding plus how to write in the exam, so that you all pass with flying colors. And I'm sure you all are going to pass your exams with flying colors. Okay. So again with me, so it is an independent examination. Now, what is meant by independent? The word independent here is really very, very important. Of financial information, what all is included in financial information, again, very important. Of any entity, you may get a separate 3-mark question, that whereby you are required to explain this entity, or whereby you are required to explain this independent. Right? Then when such an examination is conducted with a view to expressing an opinion thereon. So quickly tell me, I need your replies. Tell me, is learning at least 10%, 20% of this definition? Are you able to just register all this in your mind? Quickly send in your replies. So I have got so many yes. So see, auditing and ethics is not a tough subject as you all consider it. It is a very scoring. I've told you that 30 marks is straight your MCQ. And here only the thing that is required is you need to go through the module in entirety. I guarantee you that you will be able to answer those MCQs, right? So such an easy exam, 70 marks descriptive questions with so many options, right? So I'm sure you will be able to understand. Nikita, Tripti, Yash, Dev, Garvit, Ashwani, all are saying that they are able to register this definition in their mind. Hana? So what you have to consider, just try to break that definition or break that concept into part. And here I would like to tell you that for all those who find these techniques comfortable and helpful for them, they can use it. Otherwise, for all those who get confused with all these, can always follow their own method. Now, this is what audit definition. Now, you may get a 3-mark question as to what is meant by independent examination. So quickly tell me, what is meant by independent? Quickly, I need replies. Independent. See, Garvit is saying, ma'am, I'm finding problem due to tricky language. See, there is no tricky language that is used. Now, independent is a very simple word, right? But if you just replace this by some other word, so it's beneficial that you learn the keywords. So yes, Eco is saying without any influence. Swati is saying without bias. Ishan is saying opinion of one is not influenced by other without any influence. Omar is saying. So I'll not able to, say the name of all the students, but yes, very good. Many of you have answered it correctly. Mehek, Shoaib, Shilpa, Ayushi, all are correct. Om Krishnan, Om, all are correct. Ashna, absolutely correct. So what is meant by independent examination? So let's say the client is ABC Limited, right? For simplicity, I'm taking such names. And Messrs. XY and Associates are appointed. This is a CA firm. They are appointed as the statutory audit. So please understand that here we are talking about statutory audit, which is what external audit. So this XY and Associate is what independent. It is external to ABC Limited, right? We are not talking about internal audit as such, right? So when will XYZ and Associates be considered as independent of ABC Limited? When the partners of XY and Associates and the team, they are not subordinate to the wishes or directions of ABC Limited. They are not, they are not influenced by ABC Limited. So XYZ and XY and Associates, they will conduct the audit. They will perform the examination of the financial information, and they are going to give an unbiased opinion, objective opinion, which is not influenced by what ABC Limited wants them to write in the report, right? So it says that it means judgment of a person is not subordinate, is not influenced to the wishes or directions of another person. So judgment of a person here in our case is what? The auditor, which is XY and Associates, is not subordinate to the wishes or directions of another person. What is another person here? ABC Limited. Who might have engaged him? The auditor should be, might have. So otherwise we'll see that the engagement is done by the shareholders, right? So let's say that the opinion of XY and Associates is not influenced by the shareholders also. The auditor should be independent of the entity whose financial statements are subject to audit, so that form an opinion without being affected by any such influence. Objectivity increases the auditor's ability to act objectively without creeping into any biases. What is meant by objectively? It is impartially, right? So as I've told you that you may get a 3-marker question as to what is independent examination, or you may get any case study or any practical situation whereby you need to write about independent examination, right? So the judgment of the auditor is not subordinate to the wishes of the client. And the auditor is able to give his opinion in an independent manner without getting influenced by the client. I hope it is clear. So Satyam is saying independent refer to own judgment based on his own finding, correct. Abhijit is saying taking decision through own understanding, knowledge, yes. But see, independence is you are independent of the client organization, right? So let's take an example. Let's say that there is a company, again, ABC Limited, our example same will continue, and XY and Associates are the chartered accountant. Now, the brother of, let's say, CAX, right? The brother of CAX is involved in preparation of financial statements of ABC Limited. Now, XY and Associates have been approached to conduct the audit of the financial statement of ABC Limited. Quickly tell me whether X will be in a position, XY and Associates will be in a position to give their independent opinion on the financial statements of the company. So the answer is no. Why? Because there is what? The relationship by birth between the CAX and his brother who is involved in the preparation of financial statements of the company, right? So now are you able to understand independent, right? Again, if let's say CAX has invested his money in the shares of the company, so he will always want that his the financials of the company will show a good picture, right? So in that situation also, since his personal interest is vested in ABC Limited, there is no independence and he will not be able in a position to give an independent opinion on the examination of financial information of the company. Yes, Omar is saying, ma'am, self-interest will be there, and it will lead to what? Threat to independent. He will not remain independent of the client organization. I hope it is clear, right? Then of financial information. So what is meant by financial information? See, whatever information is there in the financial statements of the company, the financial statements, your balance sheet, your P&L, the notes to accounts of the company, changes in statement of changes in equity, cash flow. What is all that? These are what? Financial statements. The information that makes that financial statement is what? Financial information, right? So auditor is going to conduct an independent examination of what? Financial information. I hope it is clear. Of any entity, whether profit oriented or not. Now we are discussing this point. Of any entity, whether profit oriented or not, and irrespective of its size and legal form. So see, again, I told you that you can always get a 3-marker question here, right? So the entity whose financial statement is examined need not necessarily be profit oriented. Like in case of a business, is it necessary that only profit oriented companies are required to get their account audited? No. In case of a company, every company is required to get an account audited. And in fact, with respect to non-corporate entities also, see the word written here or in the definition is what? Entity. It is not written company. So it can be your association of person, it can be your LLP, partnership firm, it can be a small or a medium or a large firm. It may be a profit-oriented company, or it may be NGO or a charitable trust. So whether mandatorily audit is required or voluntary audit will be required, that we'll see later on. But yes, if a partnership firm or let's say charitable trust, though mandatorily maybe it is not required to get the accounts audited, but if it voluntarily want to get its account audited, then it can happen, right? So the entities whose financial information is examined need not necessarily be profit oriented, like in case of business. It can be non-profit organization like NGO, charitable trust, and it can be, the organization can be small, medium, or large. Further, it can be conducted for any entity respective of its legal structure. I told you the word entity is written, not company. So it can be what? Your LLP, your partnership, proprietary concern, partnership concern, LLP, private company, public company, society, or a trust. Now, for all those who are telling me that, ma'am, some tricky language is there, what? See, the language is so simple. But yes, you need to pick up the keywords. See, when I asked you that if suppose you get a question on this, then what can be the keywords? I'll just highlight. Need not necessarily be what? Profit oriented, like business. Can be NGO, charitable trust. Can be small, medium, large. And it can be irrespective of the legal structure, like these examples. So these are not as such technical language, but yes, picking up the keywords is going to fetch up good marks for you, right? So I hope it is clear. So we have done the definition of of audit, whereby we have understood the meaning of all 4 parts that we have discussed. Opinion is discussed in detail in your audit report, chapter number 8. So there will be, we'll see as to what is the opinion that has been given. And in the next session, I'll discuss with you a practical audit report of a company so that you can just have a look as to what kind of opinion is given. I hope it is clear. So again, just in order to, wind up this topic, audit is what? Again, with me, 4 points are there. Independent examination of financial information of any entity, whether profit oriented or not, and irrespective of its size or legal form, when such an examination is conducted with a view to expressing an opinion thereon. I hope this concept is clear. Quickly send in your replies so that I can proceed further. And I hope you are able to understand what we are discussing. What is the purpose of these sessions? Okay. Now, students, here, just try to understand. I am sure that you all are aware about this concept, but just to recapitulate, see, who is responsible for preparation and presentation of financial statements? Quickly send in your replies. Quickly, I need answers. So, Satyam, Ashna, Om, Krishna, Om, Ishan, all are correct. All are correct. Tripti, Kiran, everyone is correct. It is the management. So it is not the auditor, right? Now my next question. Who is responsible for design, implementation, and maintenance of internal control? Internal control within the organization. Design, implementation, who is responsible for that? So again, answers are correct. It is the management, right? And auditor, he will study, he'll assess the accounting system and internal control if he intends to rely on internal control, and then he is going to give an opinion on the financial statement, right? Now see, when an auditor is conducting the audit of financial statements, then there is a topic in your module which says that how auditor will see that the financial statement would not mislead anybody by ensuring what all points, right? See here, anybody is what? Whoever are the users. Who are the users of audited financial statement? It can be the shareholders. Why? Because their money is invested in the company and the management is preparing the financial statement. So the shareholders must be interested in knowing as to their money, whether it is safe or not, whether it is in the productive projects or not. The employees, they are also can also be the intended users. Why? Maybe they want to know about their bonus, about their salaries. Let's say government authorities. Why? Because for the tax liabilities. The bankers or the lenders. Why? Because they have to take credit decisions. I hope this concept is clear now, that if let's say there is a banker and ABC Limited approaches the bank for the loan. Now, consider a situation where ABC Limited gives unaudited financial statement to the banker, vis-a-vis a situation whereby the company ABC Limited, it provides the audited financial statement to the banker. In the second scenario, the financial statements are audited. So the confidence of the banker on such financial statement is going to be high, right? Because audit increases the credibility of the financial statement, right? So that is the purpose why the financial statements are required to get audited. So we were discussing as to who will be included in this anybody. So it is basically what? The users of financial statement, right? So this topic is given on page number 1.6 of your module. So first of all, auditor will ensure that the accounts are drawn with reference to the entries in the books of accounts. See, this is how the accounting is done. This is how the financial statements are prepared. So auditor is going to see that only, right? So account should be based on the entries in the books of accounts. Those entries, now the second point is also related to entries. Those entries should be supported by sufficient appropriate evidence. What is sufficient? Sufficiency is related to the quantity of evidence and appropriate is related to quality. This we will be discussing in the third chapter in detail. So Abhi, I'm not taking up this topic, right? Again, the third point is relating to entries. None of the entries are omitted. Now tell me, why do you find learning all these difficult? And what is the tricky language here? See, these 3 points, this is one of the learning techniques. Just try to, make summaries. These 3 points are relating to entries, and which is so obvious that accounts should be based on what? They should be prepared with reference to entries in the books of accounts. Such entries should be supported by sufficient appropriate or evidence, and none of the entries should be omitted. Now you get a financial information. That information should be what? Clear and unambiguous. As simple as that, right? The financial statements, all the information prepares what? When put in the tabular form is what? Financial statement. So that should be properly classified, described, and disclosed as per the accounting standards applicable to the company. And the statement of accounts, whatever the statement of the accounts are there, they should picture of the operational results. Operational results is what? Your P&L, and the asset and liability, that is your balance sheet. right? So I hope you are able to understand and learn also. So in order to ensure that the financial statement should not mislead anybody, auditor will ensure that accounts are drawn with reference to entries in books of accounts. The entries are supported by sufficient appropriate evidence. None of the entries is omitted. The information, just try to be logical na. Pehle 3 points are related to entries. Then you get certain information that should be what? Clear and unambiguous. And you all know that information when put in the form of statement gives what? Financial statement. So that should be properly classified, described and disclosed as per accounting standard. And last but not the least, whatever statement of accounts you are getting, that should give a true and fair picture of what? Your operational results and assets and liability. Now tell me why you find it difficult. I hope you are able to remember. Also quickly send in your replies. So this was about the topic given on page number 1.6. So quickly send in your reply. Are you able to learn also? So Yash, Ritu, Satyam, Ahana, Sia, Tarun, Dev. Yes, Anmol, operational results, that is your PNL. Results from operations, your sales, your purchases. So that is given in your PNL. Sunny, Swati, Kiran, everyone is saying yes, ma'am, it is clear. Chalo, that's good, right? Now the next, this was about meaning of the term audit. What is the nature? So the nature of auditing is that it provides assurance. What is meant by assurance? Confidence. Confidence to whom? To the users of the financial statement. And I've told you who all are the users of the financial statement. So it provides confidence. It increases the credibility of the financial statement. And what confidence? The users have the confidence that now financial statement can be relied upon. I gave you example of banker. So banker, when he's given unaudited financial statement vis-a-vis a situation where he is given audited financial statement. So see, auditors are an expert in their field. So when an opinion, when the expert put their signatures on the financial statement, obviously the banker's confidence is going to increase and they are going to rely more on the such financial statement. Clear? So this is about the nature. Now, the next topic is interdisciplinary nature of auditing. What is meant by interdisciplinary? Quickly send in your replies. Don't look at the screen, what I'm writing, just send in your replies. So Omar is saying interrelation, Swati is saying diversified, Anmol is saying nature of audit relating to other subjects, interrelated, yes. So if you look at the dictionary meaning, it says that relating to more than one branch of knowledge, right? So students just try to understand this topic and learning is going to be very easy for you, right? So see the financial statements, the auditor is conducting the audit of what? The financial statement. He's examining the financial statements. How are financial statements prepared? By the accounting, right? By the management applies various accounting standard, right? And the financial statements are prepared. So unless and until the auditor is aware about the entire accounting process, how the financial statements are prepared and presented, he will not be able to check that, right? So let's say if I'm checking your papers, so unless and until I have an understanding of what the answer should be, right, I will not be in a position to check your papers. Same way, the auditor needs to understand that financial statement is what? This is the result of overall accounting process. So auditor is, see, it's mentioned, or auditor reviews the financial statement, which are nothing but a result of overall accounting process. So accounting knowledge will be required, right? So there are various subjects which the auditor must have an understanding. So that is why the topic is what? Interdisciplinary nature of auditing or relationship with diverse. Diverse is what? Different subjects. Clear, right? So law, See, various laws and regulations are applicable to a company. Maybe, let's say, Companies Act is applicable, your your Contract Act, maybe, or let's say taxation laws. So the auditor needs to have an understanding. Then only he'll be able to know as to whether financial statement reflected true and fair view. Why? Because the financial statement will have an element of all that, right? Auditing and economics. So let's take example of, let's say, a company is there. Let's say you are conducting the audit of a bank. Now there are changes in the economic environment which is having impact on the banking regulations. So auditor needs to have an understanding of that, right? Behavioral science. What is meant by behavioral science? See, when auditor is conducting the examination, he needs to obtain a number of information from the client organization. And a client, maybe from the accountant, maybe from the sales department, maybe from the purchases department, right? So he need to understand the behavior of the human behavior. Then and only then he'll be able to, coordinate. He'll be able to, let's say the auditor is required to delegate the work also to the team. So unless and until he has an understanding of how to understand the human behavior, he will not be in a position to deliver effective and efficient results, right? Statistics and mathematics. We are going to study today that auditing is conducted on sample basis. Sampling is nothing but what? Statistics. Calculations are nothing but what? Mathematics. So unless an auditor is aware about statistics and mathematics, right, he will not be in a position to, conduct the audit in an effective manner. Data processing. See, in case of large companies, let's take example of TCS. So maximum of the data is maintained on your computer systems, right? So unless and until auditor is having an understanding of the computer system, the IT system, the electronic data processing, he'll not be able to conduct an effective audit because entire data is available on the system now. And if the auditor is not aware as to how they operate the relevant software, right, obviously he can take the training from the client itself, or he can ask for the management to provide with him assistance in case of any, specific softwares. But still he needs to have an understanding of the computer system. That is what data processing, because a huge data is nowadays available. It is there on the computer system, right? Financial management. So the various financial techniques like working capital management, the funds flow, the ratio analysis, right? Your financial markets, understanding of that, that is also required by the auditor. Auditing and production. So the auditor needs to have an understanding about the production, the cost system, the marketing. See why, let's say the auditor is concerned about calculating the cost of inventories. So unless and until he have an understanding about the production process, so what is the process, the input, the output, he will not be in a position to conduct the effective audit, right? So that is why he need to have an understanding of the production also. Let me just take you through the module for this. Just a minute. So see, this topic is here. So you just have an understanding from here also. So knowledge of subject like economics helps auditor to be familiar with overall economic environment in which specific business is operating. Financial management deals of fund flow, working capital management, ratio analysis. See, students, you all are aware about all these things. You have studied this in your foundation on 11, 12. So you all are aware that there is a subject of accounting, there is a subject of economics, financial management, behavioral science is required, right? So a very easy topic. I hope it is clear. I hope, students, it is clear. Quickly. So the next topic I'm going to cover is what? Objectives of audit, right? 200 essays, what? Standard on auditing. You all are aware, and as in when we'll proceed, you will see that we will be covering a wide range of standards on auditing. So essay 200, and the name is what? Overall objective of the independent auditor. and the conduct of an audit in accordance with standards on auditing. I'll repeat, overall objective of the independent auditor. And again, as I always tell you, just try to break it into parts. And the conduct of an audit in accordance with standards on auditing. Right? So as per SA 200, the objective of auditor are, so there are two objectives. First of all is what? The auditor, Abhi, I'm just explaining it to you in a very simple language. First objective is to obtain a confidence. Unless and until he is himself sure, he himself has confidence on the financial statement, he cannot give the intended users the assurance, right? So the other word for confidence is what? Assurance, right? So first of all, he'll have a reasonable assurance that financial statement as a whole are free from material misstatement. Why? Thereby enabling the auditor to express an opinion as to whether financial statements are prepared in all material respect in accordance with applicable FRF. Okay. Once he has obtained a reasonable assurance, what he'll do? Will he keep that assurance with himself? No, he is going to report. So the other is what? To report on the financial statement and communicate as required by the SA in accordance with the audit findings. Hana? I'll explain this in detail. I hope in a very simple language, you are able to understand there are two objectives. Hana? What are those? First of all, he is obtaining what? A reasonable assurance. And second is what? He'll report, right? Now, why the term reasonable? And the term reasonable is really very, very important. You can always get MCQ case scenario from this reasonable assurance term. Hana? And you will see that in the later part of this chapter also, now, when we'll be covering the topic of review audit, this term is going to come again and again, right? So see, Abhi, we have just discussed, I told you when we were discussing about statistic, I gave you example of what? Sampling. That auditor may check the transactions on sample basis. Why? Let's just take an example. So, see, let's say ABC Limited is there and XY and associates are conducting the audit and there are lakhs of transactions. So, is it practically possible for the auditor to check all the transactions? So, the answer is a big no, right? So, auditor may offer what? Sampling techniques. How to take sample, what is statistical sampling, non-statistical, that we are going to cover in the, I think chapter number 3 is there, right? So, Abhi, I'm not going in detail. So, see, let's say these are the various transactions. Let's say these are what? Sales transaction. These are lakhs. Okay? Now, auditor decides to check these transactions because he is checking it on what? Sample basis, right? Now, let's say there is misstatement. Misstatement is what? Mistake. And it can be on account of what? Error or fraud. Fraud is what? Intentional. Error is what? Unintentional. But both are what? Mistake. So these are not checked. Why? Because he has, after applying some sampling techniques, he has taken what? These samples which I have circled. So if some mistake is there out of this purple area, and such transactions are not checked, so he cannot be what? 100% sure, na? So he'll be what? Reasonably assured. What is meant reasonable? Reasonable is what? It is though high level of assurance, but it is not complete assurance. It is not a guarantee. It is not 100% assurance. 100% assurance is what? Absolute assurance. Or I can say complete assurance. Or I can say guarantee. But audit is what? It is reasonable assurance. And there are various other factors also. Why only reasonable? I have discussed with you only one point, right? So reasonable assurance. I hope the term reasonable is clear. Anmol is saying, my reasonable assurance is high level of assurance, which is correct. Should be saying higher assurance, that not absolute, absolutely correct. And Make is saying not absolute, which is totally correct. Okay? So I hope you're able to understand as to why only reasonable. And I've told you assurance, the dictionary meaning is what? Confidence. So if I'm saying it again and again that the confidence of the users of financial statement increases. So let's say I am the auditor of ABC Limited. So I want to increase the confidence of the users of the financial statement. Unless and until I am confident about such financial statement after the examination, how can I assure the users? So to obtain a reasonable assurance, what reasonable assurance? That the financial statement as a whole are free from material misstatement. The term material here is also very, very important. You will be doing essay 320, materiality, right? So there we'll be discussing in detail about material. But material is what? Important for the financial statement as a whole. And misstatement is what? I told you, mistake. And it can be on account of fraud as well as error. Fraud is what? Your intentional. When let's say the management intentionally commits any fraud, or error is what? Unintentional. But both are what? Mistakes. Now, why the auditor wants such reasonable assurance? Thereby enabling the auditor to express an opinion on whether the financial statements are prepared in all material respects in accordance with the applicable financial reporting framework. Now, the next question which arises here is, ma'am, what is financial reporting framework? So the framework that is applicable according to the nature of the entity. Let's say companies के case में Schedule 3 of the Companies Act is applicable. So that becomes the applicable financial reporting framework, right? So whether the financial reporting statement, I hope you all are aware about Schedule 3. You all must have done this in your accounting subject also. So in case of companies, Schedule 3 gives as to how the balance sheet will appear, how the PN will come, how the notes to accounts will come. So auditor needs to know as to whether in all material respects the same has been prepared, right? The financial statements have been prepared. So the first point is now divided into again two parts. What? First is what? Auditor will obtain a reasonable assurance. Hana? First of all, he will get what? A confidence that what? Financial statement as a whole are free from material misstatement. Why? To enable the auditor to express an opinion. Right? And how that opinion will be given? That is point number B. That is to report on the financial statement and communicate as required by essay in accordance with the auditor's finding. We will be doing essays of 700 series. There you will be 700 series. So there you will see as to how to report in various situations. So I hope it is clear. Objectives and learning, I'm trying to make you understand as to how to learn also. Reasonable assurance, I've told you that it is not a complete assurance. It is what? Though it is high level assurance, and absolute assurance is what? Complete assurance or a guarantee that financial statements are free from material misstatement. Why auditor obtains only reasonable assurance? Because of various limitations of the process of audit, which is another topic, which is what? Inherent limitations of audit. Abhi we have discussed only one point, sampling wala, right? We'll be discussing the other points also. Okay? So, and if I ask you that how auditor gives a high level of assurance, that is reasonable assurance is what? High level of assurance. So how the auditor is able to give reasonable assurance, which is a high level of assurance? So see, audit is carried out by auditors after applying their professional competence and skill based on standards of auditing. Auditor obtains what? Audit evidence. He evaluates them, he forms the conclusions, and then an opinion is formed. All this process, professional competence, skill, the standards being applied, audit evidence being obtained and evaluated, conclusions being drawn, and opinion being formed, this leads to a high level of assurance, and high level of assurance is what? Reasonable, right? But it is not absolute or complete assurance. Clear? Misstatement, we have seen that it is what? It can be fraud, error, and auditor have to see the effect of misstatement in totality on the financial statement as a whole. I hope this is clear. So just quickly, let us go through this overview. So what are the objectives? Obtaining a reasonable assurance that financial statement are free from material misstatement due to fraud or error. Gaining reasonable assurance leads to formation of opinion whether financial statements are prepared in all material respect in accordance with applicable FRF. Then to report, and it should be in accordance with the essays and the audit finding. Communication of report and reporting and communication should be in accordance with essays. I hope these topics are clear. Quickly send in your replies, and also please write whether you are able to learn also. Students, I'm waiting for your replies, and then we'll proceed. So Ritu, Sunny, Manish, Kavita is saying yes, ma'am, perfect. Mehak, Swati, clear, ma'am. Malekar is saying yes, ma'am, understood. Aditi is saying. So that's good. So our next topic here is what? Scope of audit. What is meant by scope? Quickly send in your replies. I hope you all are finding the speed also, the speed with which we are discussing also fine. So Omar is saying coverage means, scope means coverage, which is absolutely correct. Or I can say range or reach of something. Yes, Ritu, it's range. Tripti saying area. Extent, Manish is saying. Swati saying boundary. Okay. So you can say the reach or range of something. So let's say, uh, let's frame a question around this. Let's say that XY and Associates, as I'll continue with the same example, they are appointed as the auditor of ABC Limited, and a new joinee is there in the engagement team. He asked the engagement partner to tell him about the scope of audit as to what all are covered when the audit has been, what all aspects of the entity are been covered when the audit has been conducted, right? So Liana is saying what it covers, which is absolutely correct, right? So just keep in mind what is the purpose of conducting the audit. So it is to enhance the confidence of the users, intended users. How? By expressing an opinion. The auditor is not going to, call each and every intended user and tell them that as to this is the situation or this is the true, whether the financial statement reflected true and fair view. An opinion will be expressed, right? So what is the purpose? To enhance the confidence and by expression of opinion, right? Now, what is included in scope? So whatever aspects are there relating to the entity, which are relevant to the financial statements being audited. If any aspect of the entity is there, which is relevant to the financial statements being audited, that will be covered within the scope of audit, right? The reliability and sufficiency of financial information. So if you get a, let us just continue with that example, that the new joinee asked the engagement partner as to whether they are required to examine the reliability and sufficiency of financial information. So the answer is yes, right? Right? Why? Because see, students, who prepares the financial statement? It is the management. Management uses various judgment when management is preparing the financial statement. Quickly send in your replies. Any example of judgment that management makes when the financial statements are prepared? Quickly. So yes, Omar is saying valuation of inventory. Satam is saying provision. Absolutely correct. Let's say useful life of the asset for calculating depreciation, accounting policies, right? So since management uses various judgments, auditor will have to see that whether the information that has been used by management, whether that is what reliable and sufficient. And for that, auditor is going to check the accounting system, as well as he's going to check he may make an assessment of what internal control of the organization. So let me just take you through this. So auditor he needs to see whether the information, the underlying information is what? The information which is used to prepare the financial statement, that is reliable and sufficient. Why? Because auditor will have to make a judgment about this, that whether the accounting policies that the management has made, whether that are consistent and appropriate or not. How? He'll study the accounting system and he'll study what? The internal control of the organization, right? I've told you that internal control is what? It is implemented by the design, implemented and maintained by the management itself. And how auditor is going to check that? By performing the various tests, by performing the various audit procedures and inquiries. What are the various audit procedures that we'll be doing in the third chapter, right? So I hope it is clear. So reliability and sufficiency of information, that is covered in the scope. Now, is proper disclosure of financial information, is this also covered in the scope? That means whether the auditor needs to consider as to whether the information is properly disclosed or not. See, what is the assurance that the auditor provides? That whether financial statement is prepared as per applicable FRF. And if we take example of companies, so applicable FRF means schedule 3 is there, and which is nothing but what? Your disclosure requirements only, your presentation, right? So yes, this is also covered in the scope. So whether the relevant information properly discloses as per the applicable statutory requirement. Applicable statutory requirement can be what? Like your schedule 3. How auditor will ensure, this is done by ensuring that financial statement are properly summarize the transactions and events, and whether the management judgment in preparation of financial statement, whether that are correct or not, right? Further, see presentation disclosure may accounting policies, whether the selection and selection of appropriate accounting policy, whether they are consistently applied, right? See, if there is a departure, then the reason of the same must be mentioned. So whether that has been there or not, that all is covered in the scope of audit. Clear? So let us just have this checkbox. So what is covered? Coverage of all aspects of entity relevant to the financial statement being audited. Reliability and sufficiency of financial information. Proper disclosure of financial information. Expression of an opinion on financial statement. So all this is covered. Let's say you may get a case study. Let us just discuss. So again, ABC Limited is there. XY and Associates are the firm of chartered accountants. So let's say during the year, some plant and machinery have been acquired, or let's say capital work in progress is there for the company, right? Under Schedule 3 to the Companies Act, there is a requirement of specific disclosure with respect to capital work in progress, right? The engagement partner CAX approaches the management of ABC Limited with respect to such disclosure requirement of capital work in progress required by Schedule 3. The management asks CAX not to consider such disclosure requirements as they do not fall within the scope of the audit. Now tell me, what should be your answer? Whether it falls within the scope or it is outside the scope of the audit. Disclosure requirements. So you may just write within or outside. So Gunjan, Garvit are saying within the scope, Ritu is saying within, Satyam, absolutely correct. Okay? And students, many of you were saying that, ma'am, we are unable to answer to practical questions. See, this is how you will get practical question. Now, once you are clear with the concept of what is included in scope, that is disclosure is to be seen, reliability and sufficiency of information is to be seen. All the aspects of the entity relevant to the financial statements being audited that are to be seen. So once you are clear with the concept, why will you not be in a position to give the correct answer? Abhi number of you, maximum of the students have given the correct answer. Hana? So this is the way you are going to get practical questions. But yes, reading the module in entirety once or twice is definitely required. Yes, Swati Singh, as per Schedule 3, it falls within the scope of disclosure, which is absolutely correct. Okay? Now, what is not included? what is not included in the scope, right? So first of all, let us discuss this, and then I'll discuss a case practical situation with you. So this to we are doing again and again. Who is responsible for preparation and presentation of financial statement? It is the management. See, let's say if XY and associates are involved in preparation of financial statement of ABC Limited in our example, will CAX be in a position to give an independent opinion? The answer is no. Why? Because he himself is involved in preparation, or his firm is involved in the preparation presentation of financial information. So it is not the auditor that is required to present the financial statement, it is the management. So preparation presentation of financial statement is absolutely not included in the scope of audit. Let's say you get a situation that, again, ABC Limited, the management of ABC Limited asks CAX to prepare the financial statements of the company, right? Can XY and associates, in which CAX is a partner, can that conduct the audit of such company? The answer is no. Why? Because see, if I ask you to check your own audit papers, how much marks are you going to give? So the answer is, ma'am, full marks. So same way, how will CAX be able to, point out the misstatements, point out the mistakes in the financials in which he is involved in preparation, right? Yes, Liana, absolutely correct, right? Then duties outside the scope of competence of auditor. Now tell me, let's take an example again, ABC Limited, right? And XY and associates are CA firm, right? Now ABC Limited is having a building. So is CAX responsible for considering as to what should be the useful life of such structure, of such building? Or let's say ABC Limited is having any sophisticated machinery, let's say cranes, let's say cranes. So is is the audit firm, whether they are required to check the physical condition of such cranes? So the answer is no. Why? Because CA is not, the auditor is not the expert in that field. No? That is the work of what? Maybe some engineers. So it is given in your module, maybe some qualified engineers, right? So all this thing whereby auditor, the task of, seeing the physical condition of, let's say, the machinery, I gave you example of cranes, or to see the useful life, the management is going to consider that. Though that useful life will be used in calculating the depreciation, that the auditor is concerned, because the depreciation amount is going to have an impact on the financial statement. But calculation of the useful life, that is the work of the management. Why? Because management, first of all, is primarily responsible for preparation of financial statement. So duties that fall outside the competence of auditor. So you may get a question that the CAX, who is the engagement partner in this case, the management have asked CAX to consider the suitability and life of the various civil structures like building that are appearing in the balance sheet. So this is absolutely outside the scope of the competence of the auditor. Authentication of documents. See, whether a document is genuine or not, how can auditor consider that? Because he is not an expert in that field. So if let's say some fake document is there, the auditor needs to be alert all the time. But he is not an expert in considering the genuineness of a document. So this is again outside the scope of the audit. Investigation. Let's say some fraud is there, which has been committed by, let's say, the accountant and some personnel of the purchases department. Now, this fraud is committed when there is collusion among the employees, right? Now, see, what is audit? We have already seen that auditor obtains what? Reasonable assurance only. What is investigation? See, when any fraud is suspected, and then a team is called upon, that we have an understanding that this fraud is suspected, you just conduct a critical examination, give a report. So this is for some specific purpose, and some fraud has already been suspected. So in this case, it is what? Investigation, though of the financial statement itself, but this is not audit. Why? Because audit is there for what? The increasing the confidence of the users of the financial statement. Auditor obtains what? A reasonable assurance. Investigation has a totally different nature, because there's something wrong has already happened, and then some investigation takes place, then some critical examination takes place. There are certain questions in your module relating to this. We are going to discuss it from there. Okay. So what is not included? Let us just have a look again from, I think I have written, just a minute. How? So auditor is not expected to perform duties that fall outside the domain of his competence. Example is what? Determining the suitability and life of civil structures like building. Why? Because wo to qualified engineers are going to do that now. Then authentication of document, genuineness of documents में auditor can, genuineness of documents में auditor can not be asked. Just a minute. Right? Then auditor not an expert in that field. Official investigation into an alleged wrongdoing. Something wrong has been done, right? So it, why? See, when you are investigating, or when any person is investigating, he need to have certain legal powers, like of search, or for recording the statements of the witnesses on oath. Such provisions are not there for auditor, right? So that is why it says that auditor does not have specific legal powers of search or recording statement of witness on oath, which is necessary for official investigation. And see, scope of audit. Audit mein to auditor is covering the entire financial statement. So I can say the scope of audit is what? General and broad also. Vis-a-vis for investigation, let's say some fraud has been done with respect to, let's say, in the purchases department. So the team that will be conducting investigation, that is going to check the purchases only. So it is what? For the specific purpose and narrow purpose also. Are you getting my point? Okay, I hope it is clear. So checking of the accounts when fraud is suspected. So I hope this is clear. Let me just take you through the module so that it becomes more clear. So we are on page number 1.12. We will just discuss this scope wala point from the module, and then we will take a break. So what is not included? See, it is mentioned here. An audit is not an official investigation into alleged wrongdoing. An auditor does not have any specific legal powers of search or recording statement of witness on oath, which may be necessary for carrying out the official investigation. Audit is distinct from investigation. Investigation is a critical examination of accounts for special purpose. So if you get a practical situation that some fraud was suspected, and for that purpose, the auditor has been called, let's say the firm has been called upon. See, again, I told you that financial statements ka hi examination hoga, but then it will not be considered as what? Audit. Example, if fraud is suspected and it is specially called upon to check the accounts whether fraud really exists, it takes character of objective. The objective of audit, on the other hand, as has already been discussed, is to obtain reasonable assurance whether financial statement as a whole are free from material misstatement to express an opinion. The scope of audit is what? It is general and broad. Generally is what? Because you're conducting the audit for the intended users. Generally, you're checking the financial statement, and broad because all the financial statement, the financial information is being checked. And investigation is what? Specific and narrow. Okay. Specific, why? Because I gave example, let's say purchases mein there has been some fraud. So specifically for that purchases and for the transaction relating to that purchases will be checked. And narrow and specific. What is the specific purpose in order to see whether fraud has been committed or not, right? I hope it is clear, students. Quickly send in your replies. Then we will take a break of quick 10 minutes. And thereafter, I'll be discussing with you the practical case studies that are given in your module. Quickly, students, before going on a break, I just want a reply from you whether you are able to learn or not. Learning, I mean, you should be able to remember the concepts, remember the definitions. Okay, so we will do one thing. We will take a break of 10 minutes here, and after 10 minutes, we'll continue from page number 1.13 of your module. Okay. So students, I hope you all are back after the break. So we have discussed scope of audit, what is included and what is not included before the break. Now quickly have a look at this first test your understanding given in your module, page number 1.13. I need replies from all of you. So Lalji Bhai has purchased shares of company listed on NSE. The audited financial statement of the company provide picture of a healthy financial performance having robust turnover, low debt and good profits. On the above basis, he is absolutely satisfied that money invested by him is safe and there is no chance of losing his money. Do audited results and audit reports of companies provide such assurance to investors like Lalji Bhai? Is thinking of Lalji Bhai correct? Quickly send in your replies. Just write the keywords. Anna, what keywords should be there in your answer? Okay, so many of you have written no. Tell me the reason also. Yes, Ashna is saying because auditor can obtain what? The audited financial statements gives what? Reasonable assurance, not absolute assurance. See, he say on the basis of above, he is absolutely satisfied that the money invested by him is safe and there is no chance of losing his money. So is audit a guarantee? No, because auditor gives what? A reasonable assurance. Let us just quickly have a look at the answer that is given at the end of this chapter. So for your test, your understanding, the answers are given at the end of the chapter. Students, please mute yourself. Kiran Bala, please mute yourself. So,
Ma'am, I'm muted.
okay. So, and this was the point that we were discussing. So an audit does not provide assurance to investors in shares regarding safety of his money. Share prices of securities are affected by a range of factors. An audit only provides reasonable assurance that financial statements are free from material misstatement, whether due to fraud or error. Hence, thinking of Lalji Bhai is not correct. I hope it is clear to all of you. Absolutely correct. Manish, Elvina, Gunjan, Ritu, Isha, Swati, absolutely correct. Right? So I hope it is clear. Now let us have a look at second question, which is given on page number 1.13. So students, if you have any query, just send in the chat box. Please do not unmute yourself. So this Good Deeds Limited. Good Deeds Limited is engaged in business of recycling of waste from dumping grounds of Municipal Corporation of Indore to usable manure. It is in this way also helping to make the city clean. During the course of audit by Zoha and Zoha firm of auditors, it is observed by auditors that a company has received a notice from Central Bench of National Green Tribunal for not following certain environment regulations involving imposition of hefty monetary penalty on the company. The company is yet to reply to the notice. The auditors point out that same is not stated in notes to accounts in financial statement. The company point out that auditors are going beyond scope of their work. Does such a matter fall within scope of audit? Quickly send in your replies. Quickly send in your replies. So see, if any such hefty monetary penalty is there, then disclosure is required, right? Now, whether the disclosure requirements, considering whether the financial statement have proper disclosure or not as per the statutory requirement, so whether that is outside the scope of audit or it falls within the scope. So this is the question. So let us just have a look at the answer. So it is what within the scope, because disclosure requirement is considering whether the financial all the information is properly disclosed or not, that is required, as we have seen when we were discussing what scope of audit. So let me just take you through the answer. So proper disclosure of financial information is well within the scope of audit. I hope it is clear. So Arin, Yugender, Swati, Anmol, Grace, yes, absolutely correct. Gunjan, absolutely correct. The next question, in fact, the last question before we start with a very important topic. So again on page number 1.13. So this third, test your understanding third. So a huge fire broke out in Noida plant of KT Limited. Plant assets comprising building, machinery and inventories were insured from branch of a public sector insurance company. Apart from insurance surveyor, who was deputed for assessing loss, the regional office of insurance PSC also appointed a CA for verification of books of accounts, financial records of company and circumstances surrounding the loss. He was also requested to submit an early report. Would the report by CA in the nature of audit report? I'll wait for your replies. Quickly send in your answers for test your understanding third. So for all those who are saying it is in the nature of investigation, the answer is correct. Quickly tell me how you are able to know, like from what points you are able to understand that it is not audit but investigation. Yes, Abhijit is saying it is specific purpose, for specific purpose, which is correct. Yes. Miss Ghosh, it is for specific purpose, correct. See, let us have a look at the answer. See, whenever you go through test your understanding from your module, just first of all, try to, answer to the question on your own. Then look at the answer which are given at the back. The purpose of giving the answer at the back is this only, na? Because if the answer is given there only, you will just have a look at the answer and you will not solve it on your own. So appointment of CA for verification of books of accounts, financial records and circumstances surrounding the loss is for specific objective to determine genuineness of loss and any issue affecting liability of insurance company. It is an investigation and not in the nature of audit report. Because see, it is mentioned that verification of books of accounts is there, which is also there in what your audit. But then it also says, and circumstances surrounding the loss, which is what which is what for a specific purpose, right? So is it clear? So is it clear? So let us start with the next topic, which is a very important topic, which is what your inherent limitations of audit. Inherent limitations of audit. So when you are saying, ma'am, good to go. Chalo. See, what is meant by inherent? Inherent. Quickly send in your replies. Inbuilt. Absolutely correct. Unavoidable. Absolutely correct. So inbuilt. Right? So inherent limitations of audit. Okay, students, now as I always tell you that my focus is making you understand, plus like making you understand the concept, plus making you understand as to how to learn after understanding. See, audit is what? Auditor is applying audit procedures on financial statements. Financial statement is what? It is, you can say, financial reporting only. When the financial information is reported, I can say, in other words, financial reporting. So whatever is the nature of such audit procedure is one of the limitations of audit. Whatever is the nature of such financial reporting becomes another limitation of audit. Hana? If you remember, we have understood this with the concept of sample. I explained it to you before the break that auditor obtains only reasonable assurance. Why? Not absolute. Though reasonable is what? A high level of assurance. Because one example was what? That auditor conducts the audit on a sampling basis. It might be possible that in the items that are not selected for checking, there is some misstatement which is material. Right? So this is what nature of audit procedure. The nature of audit procedure is there that some kind of risk is inbuilt in such procedure. This kind of sampling risk is what? Inbuilt in the process of selecting the samples. So it is inbuilt. So try to understand. So it basically says that the auditor obtains only reasonable assurance. And students, you will be covering a topic of audit risk in the next chapter, in the third chapter, I think. So audit risk. So it says that auditor cannot reduce the audit risk to zero. So for the understanding of this chapter, let me just tell you what is audit risk. See, when the auditor gives an inappropriate opinion, when financial statements are materially misstated, in simple language, that there is some misstatement in the material misstatement in the financial statement, but auditor gives an opinion that financial statement reflect a true and fair view. This is what audit risk. And this risk, auditor will try to reduce such risk, right? If auditor is giving an expert opinion, see, audit risk will be there because this is inherent, because of inherent limitations of audit. But auditor will try to reduce such risk. Clear? But this risk cannot be reduced to zero. Or in other words, auditor obtains only reasonable assurance. See, if auditor would have obtained absolute assurance, 100% assurance, complete assurance, which in other terms, I can say what? Audit risk is zero. But that is not possible. Why? Because of inherent limitation of audit. So if I ask you that why auditor is able to obtain only reasonable assurance, not absolute assurance, so the answer will be because of the inherent limitations of audit. Or if I ask you why audit risk cannot be reduced to zero, because of inherent limitations of audit. Is it clear? So these are inbuilt. This is the very nature of the audit process or the financial statements on which the audit procedures are applied. The nature is such that there will be certain kind of risk. Clear? So there are 5 points. Let us do all those points one by one. So I hope you all are able to understand this. So SA 200, you all know, is overall objectives of independent auditor and the conduct of an audit in accordance with standards on auditing. So the auditor is not expected to and cannot reduce audit risk to zero. I hope it is clear. Because there are inherent limitations of audit. What are the inherent limitations? See, I told you, first 2 points are related to what? Audit procedure, which the auditor applies on what? The financial reporting. So the nature of financial reporting and the nature of audit procedures. What is mentioned there? That we'll discuss. First, just have a look at the 5 points. Not in the nature of investigation. Audit is not investigation. Hana? timeliness of financial reporting and decrease in relevance of information over time. What is to be mentioned there? I'll just discuss. And future events. Okay. So let me just take you through the module for discussing this. Just a minute. So we are on page number 1.14. Inherent limitations of audit. So just an idea I have given you, Hannah, by telling you that audit procedures are applied on, you can say, financial statements which are a result of financial reporting. So the nature of audit procedure and the nature of financial reporting, these are 2 points. So why the nature of financial reporting? See, we have discussed each and everything what is mentioned here when we were discussing earlier topics. You will see this is nothing new. See, nature of financial reporting. Who prepares the financial statement? It is the management. So when the financial statements are prepared, many judgments are involved. Many subjective decisions are there. See, provisions are made. The percentages of provision. What accounting policy to follow. How to value the inventory. What useful life to be taken. So these are what subjective decisions where there is higher degree of uncertainty, right? So for the auditor, is it not possible to obtain what absolute assurance? Because see, management has made certain judgment based on their assumptions. That assumption might change. Let's say management has made a provision of 10% for a debtor, and later on there is where that debtor is situated, some tsunami, some natural disaster is there, and 100% of that debt becomes bad debt. Now this is what the provision was made on the judgment of the management. So it is what subjective decision, which is what uncertain. So auditor cannot obtain what absolute assurance, right? Also, see, students, we have discussed that preparation and presentation of financial statement is the responsibility of management. Also, design, implementation, and maintenance of internal control is the responsibility of the management. Let's say one internal control is implemented. Now, when the auditor is conducting the audit, he studies, he makes the assessment of accounting system. Plus, if he intends to rely on the internal control, he make an assessment of the internal control also. Now, let's say there is an internal control that whenever any purchase bill is been paid, that must be signed by any person from the goods receiving section. That is, first of all, the goods must have been received. There should be a sign of the person who have received it. Then only the accountant will make a payment. Now, if there is a collusion between the accountant and that person who is stamping from the goods receiving section, if there is a collusion, now whether auditor will be able to become aware about that? No. Why? It might be possible that he has relied on the internal control. So this is itself a limitation of internal control on which the auditor might decide to rely. So this is one of the limitation of internal control itself, right? So in these 2 points, in the first point, nature of financial reporting, first part is what? That preparation and presentation of financial statement is by management, whereby many judgments are made, subjective decisions are made, which are uncertain, right? And this paragraph says that if auditor relies on internal control, then there are inherent limitations of internal control also. And example is given of what? Purchase bills. So because of this, this becomes what? A limitation, inherent limitation for the audit process, and audit risk cannot be reduced to zero. An auditor obtains only what? Reasonable assurance. How to learn? You may get a question that how nature of financial reporting becomes an inherent limitation. So you just keep in mind that this part is divided into 2 parts. First of all, management is responsible for preparation, presentation of financial statement. There are certain limitations of that process. Secondly, internal control ka there are certain inherent limitations. You need to discuss about those 2 points. Okay? Quickly, you do one thing. Quickly, just go through this nature of financial reporting from the module, and then tell me that with respect to this point, the discussions we have had so far, Hana, are you able to understand, and are you able to just tell yourself that okay, these are the 2 points that I'm going to write in the paper. Quickly just go through your module. If you have the module, it is on page number 1.14, and otherwise I have shared the screen with you. Quickly, students. Quickly, please. See, students, I'm repeating it. And in fact, many of you are also saying that, ma'am, in fact, one student was saying that, ma'am, I was not able to give 100% to my September exam. See, in audit subject, it often happens that you are able to understand the topic. But when it comes to writing, now you fall short of word, or you just give general answers, which do not give you good marks. Hana? So just register these 2 points. Now, just take example of nature of financial reporting. And just tell yourself that, okay, whether you are able to visualize as to what is to be written, right? Right, Abhijit, you are correct. And there is no tricky language again. Tricky, why? Because many, 1 or 2 students have written that, ma'am, we get confused with tricky language. See, such a simple language. Keywords, if you pick, you are up, see, judgments or subjective decision, uncertainty, absolute assurance. These are what keywords, and these are the normal English that we just generally also use. So that can be written. So quickly, just go through this point. What is my purpose of giving you 1 or 2 minutes to read through the module? I want you people to become confident that yes, we can write the answers in our exams. Quickly go through this paragraph and tell me whether you are able to understand as to what to write. Abhijit, you are absolutely correct. Students, I'm waiting for your replies. And see how to summarize. See, ample space is there. You can always make your notes in your language. Keywords, or you can just use a highlighter, or you can just circle the points. See what is the help of highlighting or making summaries. When you're, first of all, it helps you in better learning. Then it helps you in revision also. When you will be having your exam, you will be having, let's say, 1 day off. So you'll be able to revise. It will give you a bird's eye view, which is going to help you to revise the entire course without missing anything important. See, and Mole is saying, ma'am, please explain internal control wala point again. See, let's say there is a company, again ABC Limited, and there are lakhs of transactions. Okay? I'm explaining this internal control wala point. Now, with respect to purchases, auditor decides to rely on internal control. Now, what is internal control? I'm assuming that this is clear to you. It is basically what the controls that the management applies. Management designs, implements, and maintains, right, in order to ensure that certain misstatements do not happen in the organization, in the preparation of financial statements. Now, when there are lakhs of transactions, so when the auditor is determining his overall strategy, audit strategy, he determines that, okay, we will rely on the internal control. When will auditor decide to rely? When he has an understanding about the internal control, that they are okay, they are operating effectively, right? So when the auditor was checking the purchases, he relied on internal control. What was the internal control that the company implemented? One of the internal controls was that any payment will be done with respect to any purchase will by the accountant only when that purchase will is been signed by a person who has received the goods. The goods should have been received, goods receiving section. But let's say there is a collusion between the accountant and the person who is there at the goods receiving section. And even without getting the goods, that person is signing and that accountant is making fake payments. Clear? Now, this is what? This is a deficiency in internal control, which management has implemented and on which auditor has relied. Now, when the auditor assessed the internal control, he checked the internal control again on sample basis, right? Maybe this was left out when he was checking. But since management has made the internal control and management itself can override such internal control, so this becomes what? One of the inherent limitations of internal control, right? So since internal control can also be overridden by the management, by the collusion of employees, so that is why the nature of financial reporting is such that it becomes one of the inherent limitation of audit. So is it clear? Is it clear? Because financial reporting, when the management has prepared financial statements, management has relied on its internal control. And in turn, auditor is also relying when he's selecting his audit procedures, how his extent of checking. Hana? So is it clear? So Anmol is saying, ma'am, clear. Satyam is saying, ma'am, clear. Swati, is your doubt clear? Right? Then the second is what? Nature of audit procedures. Nature of audit procedures. Now, it says that there are certain practical and legal limitations when the auditor obtains audit evidence. See, auditor expresses his opinion based on the audit evidence that he obtains. And there are certain practical and legal limitations. Practical limitations, we have seen that he tests sample. So I gave you example like this, if you remember, that let's say he checked this transaction, but he left all these transactions and there is a mistake here only, misstatement, which is material. So this is what? One of the sampling risk only. So in turn, it is what? One of the limitations which is inherent to the process of audit. Because practically it is not possible. See, it is mentioned here. For example, an auditor does not test all transaction and balances. He forms his opinion only by testing samples. It is an example of what? Practical limitation on the auditor's ability to obtain audit evidence. Okay? So this was an example of practical limitation. Now consider a situation where management is not providing the auditor with the complete information. Now tell me, if management is not providing the auditor with complete information, can auditor force the management ki just provide me with the information? Yes, auditor can ask, can request the management to provide the information, but auditor cannot force management to provide it with complete information. What is the option available to the auditor? He can just report it in his audit report that so and so information was not given by the management. So this is what? Legal limitation. Because legally, what is the right available to the auditor? Just to report. He cannot as such force, because we have seen in investigation, auditor is not having any specific power of search or examining any witness on oath. So this is what? A legal limitation. Is it clear? Is it clear? So again, and we have seen that authentication of documents we cannot, since audit, the very nature of audit procedures is such that auditor is not expected to, see whether a document is authentic or not, because he is not an expert in that field. Further, there can be certain transactions which are entered into with a related party. Let's say, just take an example. For example, when students will be doing SA 505 external confirmation, you will see that auditor can send confirmation request to the debtors or the creditors. Now, what if the debtor or the creditor is a related party? Tell me. In that situation, if that is a related party, chances are there that auditor may not get the answer which he has asked for. Chances are there that the management and the related party, they collude and manipulate the replies to the confirmation request. So the nature of audit procedure is such that it is not auditor cannot consider the authentication of documents, or in such situations, the nature of audit procedures. See, this is one of the audit procedure now. So nature is such that this becomes one of the inherent limitations of the process of audit. And since it is inherent limitation of audit, the audit risk cannot be reduced to zero. See, related party is there. Management doesn't tell the auditor that this is a related party. Related party is also quiet on this. Now, how will how will auditor know? Clear? Right, Abhijit, if management refuses to give certain information, then it basically says, okay, everything is agreed in the engagement letter. But okay, let's say management say, no, I'll not give the information. What is the option available? What is the legal remedy available to the auditor? Just to report in the financial statement. Na? He cannot, in the audit report, na? He cannot as such force the management, na? Because this is not investigation. He's not having any powers as are required in as are there in official investigation. Clear, Abhijit? Yes. Whatever you have written is correct. Anmol, yes. You see, if the circumstances required, the auditor can always withdraw from the engagement. Absolutely correct, right? So just quickly go through this. Then we'll be this third point we have already covered, that it is not in the nature of investigation. Audit is not an official investigation. Auditor cannot obtain absolute assurance that financial statements are free from material misstatement due to fraud and error. See, your purpose is what? Because of nature of financial reporting, auditor cannot obtain absolute assurance. Because of nature of audit procedures, auditor cannot obtain absolute assurance. Because it is not in the nature of investigation, auditor cannot obtain what? Absolute assurance. Yes, Swati, you are absolutely correct. Opinion, the auditor can see what kind of opinion can be given. Correct? So the fourth point is timeliness of financial reporting and decrease in relevance of information over time. See, the financial statements, let's say these are financial statements are closed on 31st March, right? After that, the auditor has certain time limit. Let's say on 30th September, the financial statements are to be issued, right? They are to be submitted to the ROC. So auditor has certain time within which the audit is to be completed. Further, let us take an example. Let's say XY and Associates were the auditors of ABC Limited for the last 2 years also. Now they have certain information which they used in the last year, but now in the third year, they are deciding to rely on that information. But now in the third year, the circumstances have changed. So the relevance of the information has reduced over time now. And it is not possible to work on same matter again and again. Why? Because there is certain time limit within which the audit is to be completed. Why? Because of the financial reporting, that is the financial statements are to be issued or the financial statements are to be submitted to the ROC. There is a time frame. So financial statement are to be submitted or issued, say I mean audited financial statement. See, the relevance of information decreases over time and auditor cannot verify each and every matter. Therefore, a balance has to be struck between the reliability of information and cost of obtaining it. Consider, for example, an auditor who is conducting audit of a company since last 2 years. During these 2 years, he has sought detailed information from management of company regarding various matters. During the third year stint, he chooses to rely on some information obtained as part of audit procedures of second year. However, it could be possible that something new has happened and that information is now not relevant. So the information being relied upon by auditor is not timely and may have lost its reliability. So because of this, again, it becomes one of the inherent limitation of audit, and audit risk cannot be reduced to zero, or I can say that auditor obtains only reasonable assurance. See, when you will understand na, that, okay, because of this point, na, assurance is just what? Reasonable. Because chances are there that auditor may give an inappropriate opinion, though financial statements were materially misstated. Audit risk cannot be reduced to zero. Then you will be able to link it to the purpose why we are studying this point. Last is what? Future events. See, students, the financial statements are based on what? Going concern assumption. Hai? So it deals with what? Based on the assumption that the business will continue for a foreseeable future. Now, the future events are something which are uncertain, beyond the control of anyone. So the business may cease to exist in future due to change in market condition, emergence of new business models, products, or due to onset of some adverse events. Therefore, in view of the above factors, the auditor cannot provide a guarantee that financial statements are free from material misstatement, whether due to fraud and error. How future events? Let's say auditor gives an opinion that financial statement reflected true and fair view, and the next day tsunami comes and everything is destroyed, the entire business, or some changes in government policies are there and the company is stopped from exporting its product. Let's say the company used to export the products and earn its revenue. Now there has been some ban on the export the very next day, like when the auditor issued the report, the very next day, or let's say after a month. So this is what future event, which is beyond the control of the auditor or the management. So this becomes what? One of the inherent limitation. That means that audit risk cannot be reduced to zero. What was audit risk? I told you that auditor gives an inappropriate opinion when the financial statement are materially misstated. So what is the what is the inappropriate opinion in our example? Auditor said that financial statement reflected true and fair view, though there was a uncertainty with respect to going concern, which was not disclosed in the financial statement. But auditor didn't point out why, because at that moment when the auditor gave his opinion, there was no such condition. Why? Because future events are what? Uncertain. So is it clear that why future events become one of the inherent limitations of audit? Quickly send in your replies. See, cost of obtaining information, Abhijit, it basically says the time that will be involved in doing that process again and again. The manpowers, Hana, in the form of the time, the resources that will be utilized. Clear? So Muskan, Ritu, Sunil, Swati, Om Krishnan, Omkar, everyone is saying, ma'am, clear. Bhumika, sure. ठीक है. So let me just do one thing. Let us do this case study before doing the next topic. So we are on page number 1.19. This case study. Rohit, Gurpreet, Ali and Goretti. So Abhijit is saying, ma'am, whether it is related to audit fees. See, audit fees is a separate thing. Obviously, if auditor is providing any auditing service, you will see in the next topic that we'll be covering about engagement, audit engagement. So when auditor is providing any auditing services, fees will be there. But ऐसा नहीं है that because of this auditor will give any inappropriate opinion. That is a separate thing. So quickly go through this case study. We are on page number 1.19. So these are friends and they have cleared CA foundation exam in same attempt and now plan to appear for CA intermediate exams. All of them are avid news listeners and regularly keep track of business news even on social media. They are trying to understand new concepts, right? Just read till here. During one informal get-together, their discussion centered around new subject of auditing. They discussed many things regarding the nature, scope, benefits, and other general practical issues. Goretti was regular in keeping track of audited results of companies being published in leading newspaper. Her view was that audited financial statement of companies give 100% guarantee to different stakeholders. It is the main reason behind so much reliance upon auditing. But she could not understand why wrongdoings in financial matters are being discovered after many years have gone by. Ali also concurred with her view, agreed with her view, and added that when financial statements are audited, each and every transaction appearing in books of accounts is verified. However, he could not give clarity to Goretti. Gurpreet was of the opinion that audit was conducted on the basis of sample checking. He was also of the view that audited financial statements are not a guarantee against probable wrongdoings in the financial statements of the company. Not to be left behind, Rohit also jumped in the fray. He supported Gurpreet and also added something of his own, right? Based on the above, answer the following questions. Gurpreet was of the view that audited financial statements are not a guarantee against probable wrongdoings in financial matters of companies. What kind of assurance does audit of financial statement provide? Quickly go through this question and send me your replies. So please send in your replies with respect to question number 1. Gurpreet was of the view that audited financial statements are not a guarantee against probable wrongdoings in financial matters of companies. Quickly send in your replies. So almost all the students have answered it correctly. Gurpreet was of the view that audited financial statements are not a guarantee against probable wrongdoing in financial matters. What kind of assurance does audit of financial statement provide? It provides reasonable assurance, meaning a moderate level. So this is not correct. Why? Because reasonable, the meaning of reasonable is not moderate. Provides reasonable assurance, meaning low level, which is absolutely not correct. Provides reasonable assurance, meaning high level of assurance. This appears to be correct, but let us read the next point. It provides reasonable assurance, meaning absolute level, which is also not correct. So reasonable level is what? Higher level of assurance. So the answer to this is C, and many of you have answered, all of you have answered it correctly. So I can see a number of replies. Anmol, Komal, Omar. Meanwhile, students, read second question. Tushar, Bhumika, Om, Ritu, Yugender, Sunny, Tushar, Ayushi, Gunjan, Ghosh, Swati, Anjali, all are correct. Malikar, Tamanna. Swati has mentioned reasonable assurance, meaning high level. Absolutely correct. For second, the answer is correct. Almost all of you. So let me just read the second question for you. Rohit added that auditor can force an employee of the company to provide him with the required information documents. Can he do so? We have just done. Auditor cannot as such force. Yes, he can do so. It is necessary to obtain audit evidence, which is not correct. Yes, he can do so. These are express rights given to him in this respect, which is not correct. No, he cannot do so. He can only request for providing him with necessary information and documents, but it cannot be forced by him. So this appears to be correct, but let us read the next point also. No, he cannot do so. He has no right of seeking information and documents if a question of forcing does not arise, which is not correct. Because right is there, but it cannot be as such. He cannot force the management. So the answer is C. So all of you are correct. Quickly send in your replies for D, for which Komal has already answered, and the answer, her answer is correct also. Ali has listed in one of the listened in one of the classes that audit covers all aspects of entity and concluded that each and every transaction of entity is verified by auditor. Each and every transaction. Goretti also seems to be in agreement with him, but he was of the view that besides this, it is also meant that audit should be so organized to cover all areas of an entity. Which of the statements is appropriate in this regard? Students, please do not look at the answers given at the back. Try to give the answers on your own. So you need to understand that this question is asking for 2 points, whether the point of view of Ali is correct and whether the point of view of Goretti is correct, or whether both are correct or incorrect. So see, let us read this. Ali has listened in one of the audit classes that it covers all aspects of an entity. First of all aspects related, relevant to financial statements, if you remember. So here he is not correct. And that each and every transaction of the entity is verified, which is not possible because it is not necessary, right? In case of large organizations where there is volume of transactions, see, where there are limited transaction, auditor can check all the transactions, but where there are huge number of transactions, then sampling will be there. So Ali is not correct. Okay. Goretti also seemed to be in agreement with him, but he was of the view that beside this, it also meant that audit should be so organized to cover all areas. So will audit cover HR department also, production department also? No, so far as it is relevant for the financial statements. So the view of Goretti is also not correct. So both are incorrect. Answer is D. Students who are writing B, please check your answer. The answer to this MCQ third is D. So whoever has written B, please check your answers and resend the correct answer. Two students have written wrong answers. I hope it is clear. Check your answers. So the fourth point, all of them were discussing the benefits. See, when we were discussing about auditing, I told you that what are the various benefits or who are the intended users. See, whoever will be the user of the audited financial statement, the benefit will accrue to them only, na? That shareholders will be able to know what is the position. It will act as a moral check on the employees that it should not, if any fraud they commit, it will get detected. So we have almost covered this topic. So let us just do this MCQ also. All of them also discuss about the benefits of auditing. Which of the following is not likely to be a benefit of auditing? Seeing auditors is connected to future events, audited information can be easily relied upon by users. So this appears to be incorrect. Let us read the other options also. Errors or frauds may be discovered during audit. This as such is correct. Government authorities can make use of audited accounts for different purposes. This appears to be correct. It, as in, this is one of the benefits. It can help in bringing out deficiencies and in maintaining the financial record. This also appears to be one of the benefits. But this point, since auditing is connected to future events, audited information can be easily relied upon, because we have seen, in fact, future events is one of the inherent limitations of audit. So this is not likely. Students, see, it often happens that here it is mentioned what, which is not the likely, but it might happen that you just read that which is a likely benefit, and then you reach at the second point, B point, and you tick on B point. It often happens with students. So be careful when you're reading the MCQs. Just read the question in entirety and read all the options. Then mark the correct answer. So the answer is A, and most of you have written the correct answer. So I've received answer for fifth question also. Ritu has given the answer for fifth. Om, Krishna Om, Anmol, Garvit, Ghosh, Supraja, you all are correct. Komal, absolutely correct. So Goretti told her friends that she had read a news report about how a company has misled its auditor by producing some fabricated documents. Which of the following statements seem to be appropriate? So correct, Hana? Which of the statement is correct? It is not asking which is incorrect. So read the question properly. Point A, option A, it was wrong on the part of auditor to rely upon fabricated documents. He must have discovered it, as the same falls within the scope of his audit. See, this point is not as such correct. Hana, this is not appropriate, because auditor is not an expert in checking the genuineness of documents. Although it was wrong on the part of auditor to rely on fabricated documents, he cannot do anything in the matter. He has to report on the basis of the documents provided to him. He has no duty in this regard. See, this is also not correct. Auditor has to conduct audit by exercising professional skill, but he's not an expert in discovering genuineness of documents. Hence, management consisting of dishonest person may have led him to rely upon fabricated documents deliberately. This appears to be correct, but let us read the D point also. Management cannot mislead auditor due to high level of knowledge and expertise possessed by him. The above is an outliner case, none of the rare odd cases. Sorry, case one of the rare odd cases. That is, this is an exception, which is not correct, right? Because auditor is not checking the genuineness, authentication of a document is outside the scope of the auditor because he is not an expert in that field. So auditor, he needs to exercise professional skill and competence when he is conducting the audit, but he is not an expert in discovering the genuineness or authentication of documents. So I hope it is clear. Quickly send in your replies, students. Then we will do one or two small topics, and then we'll end the session for today. Is it clear? Send in your replies. Inherent limitations. See, you can always get a 4-mark question on, let's say, nature of financial reporting. So there you will be explaining this nature of financial reporting in detail, or a 4 or 3-mark question on nature of audit report, or a 4-mark question on the inherent limitations. So then of audit, then you will be writing like this. Okay, is it clear? See, if you get a 4-marker question for nature of financial reporting, and there if you write all these points, then that is not going to fetch you good marks, Hana. Be specific. Don't write general answers. Don't write pages. So there was a doubt of a student that, ma'am, what content is to be written? See, whatever is required, whatever is given in your module with respect to that point. So give specific answers. Don't give general answers. Right? So what is engagement? So the dictionary meaning says what? Arrangement to do something. See, when we may refer to audit assignment as what? Audit engagement. So that is why we are reading this term, and this is given on page number 1.17. See, we cannot, Abhijit is saying, ma'am, what kind of question should we expect? Inherent limitation or subpoints? See, this is very uncertain, right? So what I can expect from all of you is that you will go through the entire module. You will go through the entire chapter, and that will help you in writing answers to all the questions, be it if you are required to write the entire answer to inherent limitation, or be it the specific answer to the nature of financial reporting. So what I was telling you was that if you are being asked regarding nature of financial reporting, then write the answer specific to that point only. Okay? Abhijit, is it clear? So engagement. So the dictionary meaning says arrangement to do something, right? Arrangement or agreement to do something. So what is when we consider engagement from the point of view of audit, that is audit engagement. So this is basically a formal arrangement between the auditor and the client, under which the auditor agrees to provide what? Auditing services. And it will be through what? Engagement letter. Okay? So this is a formal arrangement, formal agreement between the auditor and the client, under which auditor agrees to give what? Auditing services. Simple. External audit engagement. So external audit engagement, the auditor is external to the entity. So here we are not talking about internal audit. We are talking about statutory audit. When an independent body, CA firm is conducting the audit of ABC Limited in our example. So why? Because the purpose is to enhance the confidence of the intended users, and this is going to give what? Reasonable assurance. For example, every company is required to get their accounts audited. Tell me, why will non-corporate entities, let's say, who are not compulsorily required by law to get their accounts audited, why will they get the accounts audited? If they voluntarily want, first of all, though, is getting the financial statements audited by an auditor on a voluntary basis. Is it possible? So the answer is yes. Now, why will, let's say there is a partnership firm, why will it get its account voluntarily audit? Yes, Anmol is saying to get benefit of his saying government policies. Yes, this can be possible. So I can say, because there are various benefits of audit. There are various benefits of audit, because of which the entities may decide, the management of the entities may decide to get their accounts voluntarily audit. Okay? So the next topic that we are going to cover is what? Benefits of audit. See, whoever are the users of financial statements, audited financial statement, you all know: shareholders, employees, government authorities, creditors, bankers, they are going to benefit from the audit of the audited financial statement. See, first and foremost, the benefit of audit is it provides high quality information and enhances the confidence of the users. See, an auditor who is an expert in auditing and accounting, he has conducted the examination of the financial information. Obviously, the quality of such information is going to be high, which in turn will increase the confidence of the users of the financial statement. No, Yugender is saying, ma'am, is audit report always favorable to the company? See, in your chapter number 8, when we'll be discussing about opinion, the essays of 700 series, you will see that there are 3 types of opinion that the auditor can give. So what are those opinions that we'll discuss when we'll be doing that chapter? Okay? Then shareholders. Why? Because their money is invested. Management is using that money. Management is using that money in the projects. Management is preparing the financial statement. It might be possible that management is not showing the correct picture. So in order to ensure that their interest is safeguarded, interest in the form of their money, which has been given to the management to run the company. So this is one of the benefit of the audited financial statement to shareholders. Moral check on employees. If employees are aware that any time auditor can just unveil their fraud, so it acts as a moral check on employees. Government authorities. Why? In order to calculate what? Tax liabilities. Bankers, lenders. Why? In order to take what? The credit decision, whether the loan to that party is to be given or not. And when the audit has been conducted, it helps to detect the fraud and error. Further, you all know that we have discussed that auditor also examines what? The internal control, when he intends to rely on the internal control. Auditor also checks the internal control. So the existence and operation of internal control, whether the internal control is actually in place and it is operating effectively throughout the year, or such audit helps in pointing out the deficiencies in the internal control system. Simple hai na? See, auditor can always tell the management that, see, you have implemented this internal control, but this is not actually operating effectively. This will help the management itself. So tell me, is it clear? This topic benefits? Quickly tell me. And this topic of audit, whether it is mandatory or voluntary, I am giving this to you as a homework. Please read this. We have discussed it a number of times. So it basically says it is not legally mandatory for all the entities to get the audit done of their financial statement, but companies are required. Non-corporate entities, they may be required under tax laws. maybe school is required to obtain any grant or assistance from government authorities and voluntarily audit why they may get voluntarily audit of their financial statement for because of the benefits of the audit. Who appoints an auditor? Again, consider this as a homework. So basically, see, whoever is the owner of the company, owner of the entity, they appoint the auditor, or maybe some constitutional government authority if required by law or regulation. For example, companies ke case mein, who are the owners? The shareholders. See, don't write management here. Management has prepared the financial statement. Shareholders have given their money to the management. So shareholders want to get the audited financial statements in order to see whether their interest is safeguarded or not. So shareholders who are the owners of the company, they select the auditor, they appoint the auditor in the annual general meeting. Government company ke case mein, it is what? The Comptroller and Auditor General of India. Who is Comptroller and Auditor General of India? It is an independent constitutional body who appoints the auditor of the government company. Abhi try to understand this. When we'll be doing the topic of government audit in detail, we will discuss it. Firms may, who are the owner in a partnership firm? Who is the owner? The partners. So the partners appoint the auditor and government authority may appoint under the tax laws. Simple. Then to whom the report is submitted? The person who has made the appointment. For example, shareholders ke case mein, companies ke case mein it is the shareholders, and firms ke case mein it is the partner. Okay. So see, students, I'll upload. So first of all, I hope whatever we have done in your module till page number 1.21, we have covered all the topics in entirety. Whatever homework also I have given, I have discussed with you. But see, my request to all of you is please make full advantage of these sessions. These are organized for your benefit, for your revision. And that will not be possible unless and until you do the homework and you go through the module. So it is not a big task. We have done only till page number 1.21. You can, after this session, just spend half an hour, 45 minutes to go through the module and just try to recapitulate as to what we have done and try to remember the keywords and the definitions the way I have told you. Try to summarize, right? Students, please make use of these sessions, and I'm telling you again, it will be not of any use unless and until you give your 100%. You are making the session interactive. That is very good on your part. But now the homework part, that is you need to go through the module for sure. Once or twice, at least once. I assure you that if you go through the module, this chapter from the module, after this session, now, each and every topic will get imbibed here and you will be able to answer the MCQs. 30 marks will be going to be very easy for you. I'll take the doubts. Vivek, if possible, please write that doubt in the chat box. If not, then I'll just unmute you. Let me just finish up, right? So please do the homework, go through the module till page number 1.21. And students, see, these are the notes that I have made. These are the summaries that I have made in my own language, right? I've taken you through the module also, some paragraphs like with respect to financial reporting. My purpose was to make it easy for you to make summaries on your own, because you will be in a position to understand the summaries that you make in your own language and in your modules now. If you just go through, just a minute. See, in your module, ample space is there. Here you can write the keywords, or here you can always, mark the, circle the keywords or use a highlighter. So try to make summaries on your own. Otherwise, I'll be uploading the MCQs, the case scenario, the questions that we are going to discuss in detail. Okay? Let me just take, just a minute. Let me just take 2 questions which I wanted to discuss quick, or one question I'll discuss. Let us discuss this third point. Third question. Messrs. Kumar, Khanna and Associates have been appointed as the statutory auditors of Renika Sugars Limited for the financial year ending 31st March 2024. The engagement partner for the audit assignment is CA Hari Kumar. One of the engagement team members who was a new joinee in the team asked CA Hari to explain as to what is included in the scope of audit. What should CA Hari explain? Now tell me what all you are going to write if it is a 4-mark question. Quickly send in your replies. So there is a doubt of Anmol with respect to benefits of audit. Anmol, I'll do one thing. I'll discuss that point in the next session before starting with the topic for that day, which is on Monday now. So please remind me of this doubt. So quickly send in a reply. So we all have done what? Scope of audit. And now it is not asking what is included and what is not included. It is asking for what? Scope. Only what is to be included. Swati, check your answer. What this answer is not related with the question I'm asking. I'm asking about third question. Yes. So maybe that was some misunderstanding. Write the answer to this. So what is included? There are 4 points. If you remember, it is given in. Let me just see if you have made summaries now, that is going to help you a lot. Try to summarize in your own language. So covering all aspects of the entity relevant to the financial statement being audited, reliability and sufficiency of financial information, proper disclosure of financial information, and expression of an opinion of financial statement. Now, making a table like this won't fetch you marks, full marks. You will have to explain each and everything in one, like 2 or 3 lines, specifically mentioning the keywords. Yes, Garvit, you are correct. Siri, you are also correct. Gunjan, you are correct. See, now students are saying whether financial statements are made correctly. See, these are general answers. Hana? And then you feel that, okay, I have written good answer, but I did not get the marks because you have written what general answers. This is what a specific answer, because what is to be included in the scope is being asked for. So Vivek, you may ask your question. You may unmute yourself. Vivek, you have raised your hand. Yeah. Vivek, I could not hear what you said. If there is some network issue, you can just send in your query in the chat box. Kiran Bala, please ask your question.
Yes, good evening, ma'am.
Yeah, good
There is
evening.
a question in September 24 examination related to this chapter only. This is
Okay.
question 1C.
Okay.
इसमें वो he's asking कि manager want the auditor to shall be responsible for detecting the frauds that may happen in the company during the financial year.
Sorry, please repeat. This is in September 24. What is the question number?
C. 1C.
Sorry. 1C.
1C, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
So
Kiran,
I want to know what should I write for this?
so we will
Exactly,
do one thing specifically for this question in the next session before starting the topic for that day. I'll take up that question specifically. I'll
Okay,
try to write the answer and share with you.
okay, ma'am. Because
This
I
is
applied the
September
September
24.
exam,
Can you
so I
please
did not.
repeat?
Ma'am, I appeared in September 24 examination but did not do
Okay.
well. So
Right.
I'm just very apprehensive, feel like crying. So what should I
No
do?
problem. You just write the question number in the chat box. Next session may I'll just show you as to how the answer for that question is supposed to be written. Just write the question, specific question in the chat box.
Okay,
Right?
ma'am, so should I attend these classes or I should do something else? Because,
Sorry.
should I attend these classes? Is these classes for me? Or
Yes,
should I
these are for your benefit only. So you can attend, you should attend these revisionary classes for the January 2025 exam. Right? Okay, Kiran, write the question in the chat box. Other students also, Vivek, your volume is not, your voice was not clear. Please write the query in the chat box. So I hope students, since it is already 7 minutes more than the scheduled time, so it's better that I'll wind up for the today session. So students, we have done till page number 1.21, and I'll request you all again to please go through the module till page number 1.21. I assure you that if you give this chapter a reading today itself, you are going to remember this chapter for sure, right? And I hope that you have enjoyed this session. Thank you for making this session interactive. See you in the next session, but with your homework, with the reading of the entire module. Thank you for your patient listening, and thank you for your time.
Thank you.